My daughter's scream cut through the static on the phone line at 2 a.m., raw and pleading. "Mom, please come get me. They're trying to take my baby. Mark just told me he's staying with his mother." I didn't hesitate. I threw on a coat over my pajamas, grabbed my keys, and drove through the freezing Pennsylvania night toward the gleaming suburbs of Harrisburg, heart hammering so hard I could barely breathe. What I didn't know then was that this single phone call would unravel years of quiet betrayal, force me to risk everything I had left, and ultimately deliver a reckoning no one in that entitled family saw coming. My name is Elena Thompson. For 32 years I raised 2 children alone in the little town of Willow Creek after their father died in a factory accident. I worked double shifts as an ER nurse, patched roofs with my own hands, and made sure Sarah and her older brother Ethan never went without a hot meal or a hug. We weren't rich, far from it, but we had each other. That used to be enough. Continue with the full original narrative up through the sale of the cabin and into the court battles, then seamlessly into the expanded section below. The court battles dragged on for 6 agonizing months. What began as a desperate bid to protect my daughter and granddaughter became a grinding war of attrition that tested every limit of my strength, my savings, and my faith in justice. The first hearing was in a stuffy family court courtroom in Harrisburg. Fluorescent lights buzzed overhead like angry hornets. Sarah sat beside me at the petitioner's table, clutching my hand so tightly her nails left crescents in my skin. She wore the simple navy dress I'd helped her pick out, the one that made her look young and sincere rather than like the unstable woman Vivian's lawyers wanted to paint. Across the aisle, Vivian sat ramrod straight in a tailored cream suit that probably cost more than my car, flanked by 2 attorneys in $1,000 shoes. Mark sat slightly behind them, eyes downcast, refusing to look at his wife or daughter. The judge, Honorable Margaret Klein, a stern woman in her late 60s with steel-gray hair and a reputation for cutting through nonsense, called the session to order. Vivian's lead attorney painted a damning picture. Sarah had abandoned the marital home in the middle of the night. She was suffering from severe postpartum depression. The Reynolds family offered stability, wealth, and a proven support system. They presented bank statements showing how much they had invested in Sarah and Mia. They even brought character witnesses, friends of Vivian's who described my daughter as overwhelmed and ungrateful. When it was our turn, our pro bono lawyer, Carla Ruiz, stood tall. She called Sarah first. My daughter's voice trembled as she testified. She described the cameras in every room, the live-in nurse who reported her every move to Vivian, the way her own debit card was declined because Vivian controlled the accounts. "I love my husband," Sarah said, tears streaming. "But I was disappearing. When I begged Mark to set boundaries with his mother, he told me I was being paranoid. The night I called my mom, Vivian was in the nursery packing Mia's things. She said it would be better if the baby stayed with her while I got help." The courtroom was dead silent except for Sarah's quiet sobs. Mark was called next. He shifted uncomfortably in the witness chair. Carla asked him point blank, "Did you tell your wife that your mother should have primary custody of Mia 3 days a week?" Mark swallowed. I said it might be best temporarily. Mom has more resources." "And when your wife begged you to leave with her and your daughter, what did you do?" He looked at the table. "I called my mother." A murmur rippled through the gallery. Judge Klein's eyes narrowed. I took the stand after lunch. My back ached from the hard wooden chair, but I spoke clearly. I told the court about the years of small erosions, the jobs Sarah gave up, the friends she lost, the way every decision funneled through Vivian. I described arriving at 2 a.m. to find my terrified daughter ready to flee with nothing but a suitcase and her baby. I didn't embellish. I didn't need to. The truth was devastating enough. Vivian took the stand looking every bit the concerned grandmother. Her voice was smooth, practiced. "Your Honor, I only want what's best for Mia. Elena and Sarah come from a very different background. They've struggled financially. I have the means to give my granddaughter every opportunity. Sarah is a lovely girl, but she's overwhelmed. We're trying to help her. Carla cross-examined her mercilessly. Mrs. Reynolds, did you install surveillance cameras throughout Sarah and Mark's home without Sarah's full consent? They were for the baby's safety. Did you tell Sarah that the house was in your trust and she had no legal claim to it? Vivian hesitated. It was a family arrangement. And when Sarah expressed discomfort, did you respond by consulting lawyers about grandparents' rights, before any custody issue existed? The crack in Vivian's armor showed. Her perfectly manicured fingers tightened on the witness stand. The first hearing ended with a temporary order granting us physical custody of Mia while the full evaluation proceeded, but it required supervised visitation for Mark. Vivian was furious. As we left the courthouse, she hissed at me in the hallway, low enough that only I could hear. This isn't over, Elena. You have no idea who you're dealing with. The second major hearing, 3 months later, centered on the custody evaluator's report. Dr. Patricia Lang, a respected child psychologist, took the stand. The tension in the room was thick enough to choke on. Sarah was barely breathing beside me. Ethan sat directly behind us, a solid, reassuring presence. Dr. Lang's report was clinical but devastating for the Reynolds side. She detailed the coercive control dynamics in the marriage. She noted Sarah's genuine bond with Mia and the healthy attachment forming in our modest Willow Creek home. She described Vivian's behavior as intrusive enmeshment that prioritized control over the child's emotional needs. She praised my role as a stable, nurturing grandmother and highlighted Ethan's consistent support. When Carla asked her to summarize her recommendation, Dr. Lang looked directly at the judge. Mia belongs with her mother. The current living situation with the maternal grandmother provides safety, emotional security, and freedom from undue influence. Extended unsupervised contact with the paternal family at this time would not be in the child's best interest. Vivian's attorney tried to dismantle the report, but Dr. Lang was unshakable. Mark was recalled and crumbled further under questioning. He admitted under oath that he had never once told his mother, no, when it came to decisions about Sarah or Mia. The judge called a recess. Sarah collapsed against me in the hallway, shaking. Mom, what if it's not enough? What if she still takes Mia? I held her tight. Then we fight the next battle. And the one after that. We don't stop. The final hearing was the worst. Vivian's team brought out their big guns, financial experts, more character witnesses, even a hired psychologist who tried to claim Sarah's trauma responses were evidence of instability. Mark's testimony that day was the most painful. He sat there and essentially threw his marriage under the bus to avoid confronting his mother in open court. When it was my turn for closing remarks, Judge Klein allowed me to speak directly. I stood slowly, my voice steady despite the storm inside. Your Honor, I've spent my life patching people up in the ER. I've seen what broken families look like. This isn't about money or status. It's about a young mother who was systematically stripped of her voice, her confidence, and her autonomy. I sold the last piece of my husband's legacy, our family cabin, to pay for this fight because some things are worth more than memories. My daughter and granddaughter deserve the chance to heal without fear. That's all I'm asking for. The courtroom was completely silent. Judge Klein took a long moment, reviewing notes. Then she delivered her ruling with quiet authority. After careful consideration of all evidence, testimony, and the best interests of the minor child, custody is awarded to the petitioner, Sarah Thompson Reynolds. Primary physical and legal custody to Sarah. The paternal grandmother's request for expanded visitation is denied at this time. Supervised visitation only for the father, pending further progress and family counseling. Child support is set at. She listed the terms, each one a hammer blow to the other side. Vivian's face went deathly pale. Mark looked like he'd been punched in the gut. As the gavel came down, Sarah let out a sound that was half sob, half laugh of pure relief. I wrapped my arms around her as the courtroom erupted in murmurs. Ethan was there in seconds, pulling us both into a hug. For the first time in months, I let myself cry. Outside on the courthouse steps, the late afternoon sun felt warmer than it had in years. Sarah held Mia close, kissing her soft head. "We did it, Mom. We actually did it." I looked back at the building, where Vivian and Mark were still inside, no doubt plotting their next move. But something in the air had shifted. The power had broken. Sarah thrived once the pressure lifted. She got a part-time job at the local community center, working with new moms. Mia grew into a bubbly toddler who called me Nana, and Ethan Uncle E. Ethan met a wonderful woman through his business, a single mom who understood sacrifice. They're talking about marriage. As for me, my back still aches, and the medical bills didn't magically disappear, but something shifted inside me. I no longer felt like the woman who had to prove she belonged. I had protected my family the way I always had, quietly, fiercely, completely. One crisp autumn evening, we all sat on the porch watching Mia chase fireflies. Sarah leaned her head on my shoulder. "Mom, I don't know how you did it. When I called you that night, I thought my life was over." I kissed her hair. "Sweetheart, a mother's life never ends. It just keeps stretching to cover the ones she loves." Ethan raised a glass of lemonade. "To family, the real kind." We clinked glasses as laughter filled the cooling air. I never set out to destroy anyone. I simply refused to let them destroy us. And in the end, that was enough. Vivian still lives in her big house, but it's emptier now. Mark is rebuilding slowly, far from his mother's shadow. Some people say he's changed. I hope for Mia's sake that he has. But the real victory isn't their regret. It's the sound of my granddaughter's laughter in the home where she belongs. It's watching my daughter stand taller every day. It's knowing that when the phone rings at 2 a.m., my children still know exactly who will answer. That's the kind of justice that matters.